People say one person can't change the world, but that's just not true. One decision, in fact, one moment in the past has saved millions of lives, and it can happen again. In this episode, we're going to talk about times when single individuals changed the course of history or saved many countless lives. We're going to start with scripture and look at modern day examples before looking at how you can make a similar difference today. The year was September 26, 1983. On this day, the world was seconds away from nuclear war. Soviet radar detected incoming US missiles, and one man, Stanislav Petrov, was in a nuclear submarine just hundreds of miles away from the US. And it was his job to push the button to ignite nuclear missiles that could have caused the death of millions. But Petrov realized that something was wrong, something funny with the incoming radar, and he decided to hold back, even despite pressure from colleagues. A single person in a single moment saved potentially millions of lives and changed the whole course of history. There are full of examples of this, as well as in scripture. The Bible is full of single individuals who made a real and lasting difference. Take Esther, for example, the Jewish queen in Persia. She had every reason to stay silent, but when her people faced extermination, she, guided by God's providence, risked her life to speak up. And because of her courage, the entire nation of Israel was saved. Or David, he was just a shepherd boy and he was armed with nothing but a sling. But by targeting his very limited resources in a very specific spot on Goliath's forehead, he destroyed Israel's enemies and changed the course of history. And then there's Joseph. He was thrown into slavery and he was at the complete bottom of society, thrown into prison after Potiphar's wife put him there. But he stayed faithful. And when the moment came, he interpreted Pharaoh's dream and rose to power and saved countless of lives from the famine to come, including his family. Today, I want to share with you that these examples of individuals who changed the course of history and made a massive difference are not just historical or biblical examples. I want to share 4 incredible stories of Christians who, like you and me, took what they had and changed the world. And each of these examples are Christians that we've had on our podcast. And so if you're interested in any of these stories, you can visit that podcast, the link in the description below. Let's dive in. First, meet Nicholas Lang, or Nick. Nick is a doctor. He's from New Zealand. And what makes him incredible isn't just his medical skills, it's where he chose to serve. He could have chosen to serve in New Zealand, in the beautiful backcountry, where Lord of the Rings is filmed.
You have no power here.
But he saw a massive need in rural Uganda, what he called healthcare black holes. These are areas where people would have to travel for hours to reach a hospital, maybe even days. And so there are entire communities with no real access to life-saving care. And so instead of working in a well-funded hospital, he decided to set up rural health clinics. And his charity, One Day Health, has set up over 50 rural health clinics throughout rural Uganda and served hundreds of thousands of patients and saved hundreds, maybe thousands of lives. Nick didn't have a master plan. He just saw a need, he prayed about it, and he went to where it was most neglected and where it could have the most tractable high impact. If you're not a doctor, that's not a problem. You don't have to be a doctor to save lives. Meet Katie Fantacuzzi. She started in private healthcare consulting in a very comfortable job, but she realized that she wasn't doing the highest impact thing. The best way she could improve healthcare globally wasn't by being a doctor or working in consulting. It was working for a nonprofit. Katie works at Unlimited Health. She helps run massive deworming programs. These are programs where we provide children all around the world with medicine that gets the parasites out of their stomachs that cause things like schistosomiasis, that are terrible stomach parasites that take kids out of school, give them diarrhea, just absolutely awful disease. Unlimited Health delivers tens of millions of deworming tablets every single year. And Katie is the one responsible for making sure that these tablets are having the impact that we want them to have. She tracks the impact, she oversees some of the policies and partnerships, and she proves that you don't need a stethoscope to save lives. You don't need to be a doctor to meet the needs of the sick. Let's switch gears from healthcare to global security. Because making a difference isn't about saving individual lives, sometimes it's about preventing global catastrophe. Rose Gottemuller became the first woman to serve as the Deputy Secretary General of NATO. This is the top civilian role in NATO. She negotiated the New START treaty with Russia. This is the treaty we have with Russia to reduce nuclear arms by the many, many thousands to the not so many. She's been on the negotiating table. She's met Vladimir Putin and many of the world's leading players. Every single day, we live in a world that's safer because of the negotiations that Rose had at those negotiating tables. She didn't need to be a billionaire. She started as an analyst at a think tank at RAND. but she used her skills to work up in the ranks of diplomacy to make a strategy that would make sure that the world leaders made the right decisions, and that saved many lives. Maybe you're not a doctor, maybe you don't have diplomacy skills, or maybe you're not skilled at policy or measuring impact in nonprofits. Maybe you just have money, and money can have a lot of impact too. Meet Graydon. Graydon works in finance in the UK. Not exactly what you think of when you think of world changer, but here's the thing. He's donated over 75% of his income, now over $2 million, to the world's most effective charities. We've done some number crunching, and this comes out to over 100 lives saved from preventable diseases like malaria or whooping cough. The crazy thing is that Graydon, giving what he gave, if he were to give it to average charities in the US, probably only gave enough to buy one building or save one person's life. But because he gave to the world's most effective charities working in the most neglected regions, he was able to save hundreds of lives. He proves that sometimes the best way to serve the world and to advance God's kingdom isn't by quitting your job, it's leveraging your job to fund massive, good, and effective projects advancing God's purposes all around the world. So what about you? How can you make a real and radical difference on these global problems? 1, focus on high impact areas. The world's problems are not created equal. Some of them are extremely important, and not just important, but really tractable. You can move the needle on them, and really neglected. So we think all else equal, you can have a much greater impact as one person by tackling really important and really solvable and neglected problems. 2nd, you can have a huge impact by applying reason and evidence to find solutions that really work. The average interventions, whether that's for deworming tablets or for saving lives or even in diplomacy, might not have a ton of impact. But if you can figure out the tactics that work, you can have an outsized impact as one person. 3, leverage your unique skills. Just because you know exactly how to fix the world, but you don't have any skills to make yourself employable or to actually work towards a good cause, you might not have what it takes to actually move the needle or advance any good causes.
Get some help.
Take a moment to check out our career guide, to take a look at some of the skills needed for different roles, and figure out what skills you have or could build in the coming years to get jobs or to pursue opportunities that would have a massive impact on some of the world's biggest problems. Graydon is really smart and good at crunching numbers and closing deals. Rose is super level-headed and good at negotiating and communicating, especially under high-stakes situations. Nick is super casual and willing to throw himself out into the world, including in places where there isn't running water or air conditioning. He's just rough and ready to get his hands dirty when it comes to doing good. If you're trying to change the world, try using what you're best at, whether that's medicine or negotiating or earning money. 4, consider earning to give. Now, this might mean doing what Graydon's doing and working in some kind of ethical finance position in order to earn millions of dollars to give millions of dollars away. But for many of us, that might just mean taking a giving pledge. Taking a 10% pledge, give 10% or more of your money away to give to the world's most effective charities. That can still have massive impacts. The average person, by giving 10% of their money away, can still save several lives a year. 5, work for really impactful organizations. Maybe that's NATO, working in a high-up position, able to move things. Or maybe that's an effective nonprofit that nobody's heard about. Maybe something like Unlimited Health, where actually it's helping millions of children every single year not get stomach worms. Don't just settle for any organization or the one that's closest to home or familiar to you, but work for the most impactful organizations that are doing the greatest things or the most neglected things that really move the needle and have an impact in the world. So it's absolutely true that one single individual can change the course of history, can save hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of lives, can advance God's kingdom and human flourishing in all aspects of life. And if you're not sure about that, then check out our podcast and listen to some of the stories of the people we mentioned. Or if you want one-on-one advising for how you in your career can really discern a path that makes a massive difference in the world, we'd love to give you that advice for free at our website or see the link below. And let me know in the comments, what's one way that you want to impact the world? Are you skeptical of any of these stories? Let us know which of these you loved most and what you're thinking about of how you can impact the world. We'll see you again next time.